Okay, so once again, idiotic, stupid dog has to be the bearer of whatever you would say rationality. The stupid, idiotic dog is the one who has to call out the fools and the whatever, the jackbrains, the morons. So there's this Candace Owens, and she's a TikToker, and she's got a problem with an ad for Skims, and she says, "I'm calling out Skims' new adaptive clothing ad featuring a disabled woman. It's stupid," Candace says. There's a woman in a wheelchair, and the ad says Skims is made for everybody. And Candace goes, "Oh, really? Really?" All Candace can say is, "Really? We're going to go this far with this exclusivity thing?" How far are we going to go with this exclusivity thing, Candace is saying? How far are we going to take it? And she wants to be educated in the comments. So I'm not going to give her a comment, but this is me becoming like I'm an adherent of Candace now. I watched Candace, so now I'm an adherent. If I watch her again, I'm a true adherent, but I'm somebody who watched her once and commented. Now I'm an adherent, but this is my chance to do a comment. And so the comment that I would give Candace, I don't even know. The main thing I want to say is, Candace says she never saw it. She never saw an ad with a woman in a wheelchair. She doesn't like that. She says, and now we see it. Now this has to be up in our face. This ridiculous campaign. So here's the comment that I would make as a dog, Candace. The woman in the wheelchair is hot, so it's okay. I'm sorry you don't get that part of it. It's not like Sports Illustrated trying to make us believe that big, giant, rotund, heavy women are supposed to be so gorgeous and appealing in the swimsuits rolling around the surf. Sports Illustrated is trying to say big, giant, obese women have to be looked at as, sexual objects, and it's a bridge too far. The problem is with your problem, Candace, is the woman's in the wheelchair, so what? We're discriminating against wheelchair as far as wheelchair in of itself. If this was an ugly woman in a wheelchair, you might have a point. She's hot. A hot woman in a wheelchair, you don't even got to bring up the wheelchair, Candace. I mean, that's your problem. You're not grasping the whole deal. But, I want to bring the man in because the elephant in the room is that Candace is trying to say this exclusivity thing and all this, that, and the other thing, and yet she's a black woman. And so I want to bring the man in because I'm a dog. I'm more liberal. I could see, I'm not going to run down Candace or try to point out the fact that not too many years ago, she was needing some, inclusivity, whatever you say. And nowadays, she doesn't think that it's good for the wheelchair people. But, not too long ago, it was good for the black people. Even though, maybe you're trying to deny it, the women and the black people still haven't even gotten the whole way there yet, especially women. I mean, it might be worse for women than it is for black people. Women aren't making as much money as men, this, that, the other thing. But the inclusivity and the helping out and the, give a little to somebody that maybe was discriminated against before, Candace. I mean, you don't think you are a benefactor of that? I'm going to bring the man in. Okay, Candace, I just want to say one thing, okay, honey? You're pissing me off because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You don't think that there was no affirmative action back in your family tree? You got to where you were, Candace, in America without somebody someplace saying, hey, we screwed up, we were racist. Now we got to change it up a little. We got to give a little bit of affirmative action. It's like the Clarence Thomas syndrome. Black people who are like, I made it, so now fuck all black people. Black people don't need no affirmative action. Maybe we're getting away from the affirmative action, but you know what? The whole concept of we did a lot of wrong things before. We held people back. We discriminated. We didn't let them reach their full potential, And now you're going to say, oh, Candace, Candace got hers, so now nobody else can get a little something for themselves. A little bit, you know what I'm saying? So it's called the Clarence Thomas syndrome. Let me just point this out. A couple things about old Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas made it. Now, Clarence Thomas doesn't want to hear nothing about affirmative action, though he was a world-class benefactor of affirmative action. Poor old Clarence, he was born in 1948, Pinpoint, Georgia. So how far you think black people could expect to get coming out of 1948, Pinpoint, Georgia, huh? It wasn't that good. A sharecropper who didn't get killed by an angry mob of drunken white men, that was like the lottery back then. So Clarence, Clarence came from a place where his people were called, I don't even know if this is how you say it, Gula people. I don't know what a Gula person is, but these were like black people who lived in these enclaves down there in Georgia, and their first language was Sea Island Creole English. These black people were also known as Geechees. So how far did Clarence have to come from 1948 Pinpoint, Georgia, speaking Creole and being known as a Geechee or a Gula person? Clarence wanted to become a priest, but he was so frustrated by the Catholic Church's inherent racism, he gave that up. Another little aside, Clarence came from a place where lynchings were commonplace, okay? In 1948, statistically, they said in Georgia there was only 2 lynchings that year. It was a good year for not having too many lynchings. But the thing you got to remember, for every reported, documented lynching, there's probably 2 dozen, out in the hills, out in the boonies lynchings that never made the papers, that didn't get recorded. So, what I'm saying, Candace, is you got a lot of nerve to start talking about how we don't have to have this inclusivity thing anymore. And you, my dear, being a black gal, should remember, and I'm a 55-year-old man who came from an elitist family in an elitist neighborhood, and I grew up in a manor house. So believe me, I can look down my nose on you a little bit. I don't think it's right, but believe me, I do. And this is our year of the Lord, 2023, and there's still harbingering in the back of my mind a little bit of whatever, that who's this girl thinks she is. That's why the dog had to come and bring me in to talk about it, because I was gonna, look down my nose a little. And the dog's point is, it's still there. So inclusivity. All right, calm down. All right, listen. All right, the man, back off. Hey, I just want to make it clear, Candace, she's some kind of a B word over here. All right, back off, the man. Listen, I'm just an idiotic, stupid dog. The thing I want to say to Candace is, just like the man was saying, maybe you should remember to be a little bit more Christian, a little bit more kind. Remember, it's a little bit, whatever you would say, arrogant, or you're forgetting about how far you came. Listen, the worst thing you can do is when you get there is to say, okay, now nobody gets no help because I got mine. Now screw everybody else. That's one of the weakest, nastiest, lousiest, screwed up things. And also, Candace, I'm just an idiotic, stupid dog. But the one thing I would point out is you're kind of a stooge for the man's point of view. Like, you're kind of voicing everything that the man, you're supporting that whole paternalistic, that whole, I know better than you, the whole white world thing where you should just take what you're given and shut up and don't, this, that, the other thing. You've kind of become a propagandist for, a little bit of what you would say, what do they call that again? It's not white supremacy, or it's whatever, it's segregation. I forget what it's called. It's just a thing where nobody, there's a superiority. There's a taint that the man and his buddies, they've got a little bit of a, you need to know your place, Candace. And Candace, she's the first one stepping up and being a voice of, we need to know our place. They used to call that a house N-word in the old days. These new days, I don't know what they call it. I think these new days they call it a TikToker, but whatever, it's okay. I mean, I'm just trying to point it out. It doesn't make any sense. The thing that I would want to say is, if you live in the good old US of A, there's got to be room for everybody, and whatever, there's got to be room for looking at the past and saying, maybe we screwed up a little bit, maybe this, that, the other thing, maybe you got to level the playing field. I'm not saying out there in California where they're going to give millions of dollars away to each and every black person. I'm not saying reparations, but not even affirmative action, but a little bit of a thing where you're saying, affirmative action, give a guy a shot. Maybe this person isn't, whatever you would say, they were held back, so they don't have all the skills, but they have all the intelligence, they have all the greatness, and all you got to do is release that, and then the whole place is better, the whole country's better. I don't know. It's just me. I'm a stupid dog. I probably don't know anything about it, but the thing I loved about it was I finally am a commenter. I'm an adherent, albeit, a reluctant adherent of Candace, whatever her name is, and I'm a commenter, no less. It's amazing. I feel liberated.